Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS episode review. This time we will be going over episode 117, the beginning of the final duel of the show, which is crazy to say, between Playmaker and I. Now, I do have a little bit of allergies. I think it's allergies at least. I have a sore throat, runny nose. Happens almost every time the weather dramatically changes, and with the hurricane moving up towards New Jersey, it veered off track. We lost like 30 points in the weather. Like literally the weather went from like 90 degrees to 60 degrees, and like a sudden drop like that usually does not go well with my immune system for whatever reason whenever the weather changes like that very dramatically. So if I sound a little nasally, I do apologize, and I do apologize that this review was as delayed as it was, but I hope you're all enjoying your weekend. What did I think of this episode? I thought it was a enjoyable episode. I thought it was a good setup for what will hopefully be a really banging conclusion of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS. Of course, in the time of watching this episode and in the time of recording this review, we have gotten confirmation that Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS is ending episode 120, September 25th. Which is kind of a shame, but the writing had been on the wall for a while, and even in this episode, Revolver called the duel between Playmaker and I the final duel. He says farewell to Yusaku. Whether we will ever see Revolver again, whether we will ever see Ryokan again, remains to be seen. It wouldn't surprise me if we don't. As disgruntled as I am to say that, I really hope we do get a good conclusion with all these characters. I'd like if they did something similar to what they did in 5Ds, where they showed the futures of these characters. But if we don't, maybe that's okay as well, because Soulburn and Revolver both had, I thought, excellent conclusions to their characters, and that's where I want to begin, the very beginning of this episode, the conversation between Revolver and Soulburner. Soulburner, on a dime, snapping his fingers, saying, I don't want you to turn yourself in, you have to watch the network. The sense that I got from that is that Soulburner, I think, views Revolver more so as a friend, at least more than he did before this duel began. I think the duel, with Yu-Gi-Oh! We see it all the time. I think it was Yuma who coined the phrase, anyone I duel is my friend. And that is just the MO of Yu-Gi-Oh! In general. I think Yuma's quote right there sums it up best. It's like whenever someone duels another character, they get a much greater understanding for that character. And Soulburner, after wanting to duel Revolver for so long, finally got to duel him, had that moment with Flame, which basically confirmed in his mind that Revolver genuinely was trying to apologize. And it was a great moment. Revolver turns away from Soulburner and Playmaker and says, I have to turn myself in, I have to pay for my sins, I have to pay accordingly for what I've done in the past. And he starts to walk away, and I fully believe that if Soulburner and Playmaker stayed silent, Revolver would have walked straight into jail, probably for life, and that would have been that. But Soulburner says, wait, don't do that, you need to watch the network. You need to watch the network to make sure that nothing like this ever happens again, that there is no lost incident, that there is no Bowman epidemic. This is going to be your mission for the rest of your life. This is how you can make it up to me, by giving me the peace of mind that there is a very strong person, a very strong individual watching over the network constantly, so that no one else has to experience the pain that myself, that Playmaker, that even to a degree Revolver had to experience. I didn't really see it so much as I want you to stay in the network because that's your punishment. I saw it more so as, this is what your job is from now on, because we've all went through hell, you need to prevent it from happening again. And what I love about Revolver, too, in this scene, man, is he's such a good leader. Himself, Gnome, Vira, Faust, and Spectre all agreed, we're going to turn ourselves in, right? Once this war is over, we will go to jail, we will atone for our crimes. Gnome, Vira, and Faust, one of them, maybe Gnome, gets revived when Revolver's already in jail, and he says, you know what, I want to lead a quiet life, away from everything, I'm not going to turn myself in. And I think Revolver is okay with that. At this point, Revolver has so much trust and respect for the other knights, which has been his MO this whole show, that he doesn't really need to wait for them to turn themselves in as a group. It's not like, oh, well, if I'm going down, everyone's going down with me. No, Revolver's not like that at all. He's like, I'm going to go down individually, and if they choose to go with me, that's fine. They said they did. I believe their words. If they reconsider when they get revived, that's also fine. They've done a great deal for me. And Revolver, that was just such a powerful scene that he wasn't waiting for this conflict to be resolved. His own personal demons were finally defeated, and so now he can turn himself in and atone for his crimes. So I thought the beginning of this episode, a great scene to conclude an amazing duel, Great character arc for Soulburner, great character arc for Revolver. And then we have Playmaker versus I, the final duel of this show. Playmaker looks at Robopi's shell. Apparently there was a message within Robopi from I. Playmaker goes to Soltech. It's a very tense scene until I drops down and kind of cuts the tension with a very dramatic opening entrance. Playmaker and I have a bit of a discussion, and I's plan finally gets revealed. And I've heard mixed things about what people think of this plan, so I really want to hear it from you guys down below, what you think of this plan. If you like it, if you thought it was a little underdramatic, overdramatic, please let me know. I personally thought it was very fitting for what I has become. I has created all of these duplicates of himself, and he wants to release them into the world. And he says to Playmaker, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Some might help humans, some might not. Some might team up with each other, some might fight against each other. I really don't know how it's going to play out. And at this point, the way I, again, interpreted it is I just wants to leave a lasting impact on the world, for better or for worse. That's all he wants to do. He wants to be remembered for something other than what happened in that Bowman duel. Because ever since that Bowman duel, that's obviously when I took a sharp turn. And the way that I is interpreting the actions he took during that duel is that he killed off the other 5 Ignis. He killed off Lightning, Windy, Flame, Aqua, and Earth. He's not viewing it as, I made the sacrifice so that Bowman was defeated, so that Link VRAINS was saved, so that everyone in Link VRAINS was saved, so that the world was saved, so that the network was saved. That is not how I is viewing this situation at all. The way that I has consistently viewed this situation since the Bowman duel is I made the decision to kill off the 5 Ignis, to kill off my 5 brothers and sisters, if you will. And he just wants to be remembered for anything, whether it's good, whether it's bad. He just wants to leave a different legacy than that. And I honestly think it's really unique, because when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh!, when it comes to villains, usually they have a set plan. If Yami Marek's plan goes through, Pharaoh Atem is killed. If Don Thousand's plan goes through, Astral World and probably Earth are destroyed. If Zone's plan goes through, Neo Domino City is destroyed. Right, like, almost with every villain, it's usually about destroying or conquering the world in Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm thinking Light of Destruction, Yubel, that's usually what it's about. But in this situation, we really don't know what the end result is going to be. When I releases all these copies of himself, there is a possibility that the human race just blows up in a very good way, and all of a sudden the technology becomes that much better. Human beings themselves are aided by all of these eye copies to the point where they now have a life expectancy of 140. Medicine becomes amazing. Like, we don't know what's going to happen, and I think that's a very unique concept. And again, it just plays into the grief that I is feeling, that he just wants to do something, anything, to alleviate the pain and not be alone. With all these copies, he even said it, I'm going to lose the loneliness I've been feeling, and I also think it is to leave a lasting impact on the world, for better or for worse. Now, obviously, the hypothetical I just gave was great for humans. There's also a very good possibility that it would not be good for humans, that all of these eye clones would destroy the human race, take over the world, or the world would just be in complete chaos. So Playmaker cannot let that happen. He can't take that risk, and he does begin his duel against I. Before this duel begins, we see Ryokan throw a card at Yusaku, very a la Seto Kaiba in Battle City, towards the Pharaoh right before his duel against Yami Marek. It reminded me a lot of that scene. Ryokan throws the card at Yusaku and says, farewell Fujiki, sails off on his boat. Who's driving the boat? That'll be a theory video for another day. Yusaku puts the card in his deck. I would love for it to be a Mirror Force. I personally think it's going to be a card that will lead him to victory. I think it's going to be a card used way later on, which I don't know if I'd necessarily love. I think it would be kind of cool. I think it's cool regardless that Ryokan gave him a card. And I know, however he uses the card, it's either going to prevent his loss, and then he will win a little later on, or it will give him the victory. And I think that really symbolizes how far Ryokan has come, how far Yusaku has come, and how far their relationship has developed since the very beginning of the show, when Ryokan played the role of antagonist, really, the entire first season. So that was really cool. And the role reversals are great, right? Because in Season 1, it was I constantly aiding Playmaker to defeat Revolver. Now it's Revolver aiding Playmaker to defeat I. I mean, it really has been a great inverse switch. And again, if there was a little more time in this season, if there were maybe 10, 15 more episodes, I think this show really could have had a very solid Season 3. I think Season 3 will be okay when I look back on it. It will be a little like GX Season 4 for me, where I really liked Season 4 of GX, but I wish it had a little more time, and I feel like if it did have a little more time, it would be more widely appreciated, and probably rightfully so. Playmaker and I's duel begins, and, you know, the dialogue was good. Probably my favorite parts of this episode were before the duel began. Not saying the duel action was bad, but we see Playmaker get Decode Talker onto the field. We see I get his version of Decode Talker. They go at each other. The same animation that I believed was used in Opening 3. I mean, if we ever had a Yu-Gi-Oh! Opening that impersonated so many direct scenes from a season. I mean, really, it's been insane how many identical scenes we have seen from Opening 3 in this season. Decode Talker is destroyed because of the effect, and Playmaker's field is completely empty when this episode ends. I says a corny little thing to Playmaker, well, not corny, but I think a threatening thing, saying that his life is going to end here or something like that, and Playmaker angrily says I, and then the episode fades to black. I'm very excited to see these two continue to talk, continue to go at it. I think this has the potential to be one of the better duels. Playmaker is going to most likely summon Dark Fluid. We saw it behind him in the opening. Then again, the opening was a little misleading because the opening shows Playmaker and I speed dueling, and they are doing a master duel, unless this master duel will turn into a speed duel at some point, kind of reverse from when Playmaker and Revolver first dueled way back in Season 1. Who really knows? But I thought that was kind of interesting that this was a master duel. I'm sure we will see Dark Fluid. I don't know if we will see Firewall Dragon. I will probably actually have that as a question right now in the top right. If you believe we will see Firewall Dragon, please vote and let me know in the comments. When Firewall Dragon was banned, I made a video talking about what that meant for the show, and I said that I don't think Firewall Dragon will ever be used again in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS. Now, he was used against Go right before the Mirror Link VRAINS arc, but that was like 2 weeks after the ban was announced, so most likely that duel was already done, official, set in stone before he was officially banned. And since that duel against Go, we have seen no sighting of Firewall Dragon, and I do not believe we will see him even in this final duel. But maybe because it's the final duel, they will use a banned monster. We will have to wait and see. But guys, let me know what you thought of episode 117 down below. Again, I am sorry about the delay, but I still hope it was enjoyable, and maybe it was a little better to wait, because had I made it on Wednesday, I would have reviewed it not knowing whether the show was going to end in literally like 3 weeks, or whether the show was going to go for another 20 episodes, and that does affect the things that I'm going to say in the review, because obviously, if a show has way more time, there's more potential of a Playmaker loss. I am clearly assuming he's just going to win, but maybe there will be a surprise result. We will have to wait and see. A special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Alexa Baker, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, James Rose, Samuel Stark, Thomas Adderley, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Vincent Van Der Veen, Jordan Osceola, Smith620, Galladiator, FrostReaper, Jorge Leon, and Blue Maiden 28. And to my Diamond tier patrons, Jesse Wood, Melinda Phantom, and Ben Hartz, and to my Egyptian God tier patrons, Josh Rivers and Syn Cloud. Huge thank you to everyone who supports me over on Patreon. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it and how much it helps me out. Thank you to everyone who is a YouTube channel member as well, and thank you to everyone who just watches these videos, because without you guys, I would not be able to do this. I will talk to you down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.